don't practice fast, right? That's the advice, and that is my advice. You want to practice at a level, but I'm going to give you an alternative way of practicing in a second. But we say that, you need to practice at a level where you can get everything right. Because if you make a lot of mistakes as you're practicing, then that's what you become good at. You keep repeating mistakes, so the brain goes, okay, we're making mistakes. And then you speed up that process, and then you're making a ton of mistakes when you pick at a high level. So you get a not so good a technique. But so you need to be practicing at, of course, as fast as you can while remaining completely relaxed and getting every note right. Do not make mistakes, but that's another issue. But there is a way of practicing fast that's actually incredibly beneficial, and that is the stop and evaluate method. And what you basically do is that, you can practice in a loop. That's what I always, tell people, create little loops of practicing so you don't have to stop and go. You're wasting your time in that little time frame there. Every time half a second, if you times that up a million times, it's a lot, right? It's days that you're wasting. So you want to have an exercise that goes. That's a loop, right? You can keep playing it over and over again. But if you want to practice fast, you want to use the same method as trying to put a ball through a hoop, and you want to practice, for instance, 6 notes, like, let's just say that's your exercise. Those are the 6 notes. And then I'm going to slide up to the next note. And that is a beneficial exercise where you stop. So what do you do? Why are you stopping? To remember, hear the sound of what you're doing, and then evaluate. Did I get every pick stroke right? Right? So if I'm going, I might say, okay, the string shift was a little weak. Let me try to. And I'm constantly evaluating, and what happens in the brain is those 6 or 7 notes become one spasm. Like when you're practicing with accents, it becomes patterns that start and are triggered by that accent, which is important for synchronization and which is the prerequisite of playing fast. So you must have accents. But in this way, when you play a small little my brain, I'm looking in another direction because my brain is only focused on, is everything correct in here? Is everything at the highest level? And then I can kind of adjust for it as I'm playing it fast. It's like the way people approach guitar is the same way they approach everything else. We try and fail, which is a disaster when it comes to guitar, because that's how you create a bad technique, by having a lot of mistakes all the time. But that's good if you're trying to put a ball through a hoop in basketball, right? You try and try and try. Hey, I did it, right? And then the brain tries to, what did I do? How did that feel, right? That's why professional players do the same ritualistic movements every time they do a free throw, right? You go boom, boom, boom. Because that whole feeling has to be the same every time, because it's a feeling. It's a feeling of just how much do I need to push the ball up and in what angle. And that's how the brain does that. And when we practice guitar, we try to do the same thing. Yeah, you have to try before you can succeed. No, you don't. You do it correctly. You use 5 minutes learning the pattern, right? And then from there, you don't make mistakes because you can. And so you build in the perfect little movement of your fingers. And it's perfect every time. You're not making mistakes. That's the best way to do it. But then at some point, you want to say, okay, let's group this fella into one thing that I do, a spasm, right? A trigger in my brain, as I do with the accents. And then let's try and play it fast and see what happens. Can I adjust for the mistakes I make at a rapid level of practicing? Or can't I do it? But sometimes it's extremely beneficial to take the technique you've built, going, and then breaking it up, right? Because you get that chance of evaluating and then starting over all the time. Also, you get an inlet to what you're doing. When you're playing in loops, it's like there's no breaks anywhere. So you might make a mistake, but you're on to the next note, which is fine when you're getting everything right. But as soon as you start practicing fast, you can't practice fast in that way. There's simply no way of doing it because all the notes just come by like fire. You have a lot of mistakes in there and you're not fixing them. You're not even focused on them because you're just trying to make it happen. The brain just scrambles to make it happen. It doesn't work. It doesn't. But you can, if you have little pauses between these little bursts of notes, you can sometimes adjust the mistakes you make, and then you get to try to go into the reality of playing fast and see, is there something I can do here in that reality? And very often there is. So use this as a way of ending your slow practicing. When I practice alternate picking, I play this fast. That's how fast I play when I practice, because I need to get everything right. And from this comes speed. So end your practice sessions of playing where you get everything right to having these, remember the break in between, design a little pattern, right? And then work with it as you're playing it. See how it works for you. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all these things, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.